Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be how to make Corey's green juice. Today what I'm going to do is in a minute I'm going to switch over to the kitchen and I'm going to show you how to make the green juice recipe that I use all the time for making fresh juiced vegetables. And I'll actually show you the vegetables and what they look like, and also show you the juicer that I use as well, along with a couple of other products. I'll show you my water ionizer and some other things so you can get an idea of the stuff that you probably heard me talk about before as it relates to health. But before we get into it, I have a quote I'd like to share with you that I wrote. And it says, "The human body is alkaline by design and acidic by function. Your body needs alkaline minerals, enzymes, and vitamins to neutralize the metabolic acids produced by the cells of your body. The ideal diet to be free from disease and illness symptoms is 80% alkaline and 20% acid. The average human diet consists of 95% acid-forming foods and only 5% alkaline-forming foods. By giving your body the proper nutrients it needs, you enable your body to build healthy blood. Red blood cells are the building blocks of every kind of tissue and bone in your body." And if you haven't got it already, I highly recommend that you get a copy of Dr. Robert O. Young's book. It's called The pH Miracle. They have it at Whole Foods, they have it at the bookstores, and you can also order it online. His actual website is phmiracle.living.com. And on this article on my webpage, I'll actually give you a link to take you directly to his website so you can order some of the supplements that I'm going to go through that I personally take of his. But to understand what's alkaline, it's like anything that's like green leafy vegetables like spinach, collard greens, kale, celery, cucumber. These things tend to be alkaline type minerals. Now the typical American diet, there's usually a lot of pasta, a lot of grains, a lot of cheese, a lot of dairy type products. Now all of these things are acid forming foods, and so like figuring out like how do you eat, it's like when you look at your plate, 80% of what's on your plate should be alkaline minerals and foods. But to counteract that, there's the 4 salts that I'm going to go through and show with you. There's also drinking alkaline water. You know, because I don't eat salads every single meal, because I like to have Thai food and other things. Sometimes I like to have pizza. Sometimes I like to have beer. Sometimes I like to have wine. Like tonight, I have a date tonight, so I'm going to be drinking wine. And to balance that out, you're going to want to take things like the salts, drinking alkaline water, drinking the juice, the green juice that I'm going to show you how to make here in just a minute. But the idea is like all pastas, breads, and things of that nature, those are, in other words, when your body metabolizes those, it leaves an acid ash. And so it takes 80 parts alkalinity to buffer 20 parts of acid. And the more alkaline you eat, the more organic green leafy type vegetables, because the green vegetables are what have the alkalizing minerals, nutrients, and enzymes that you need. And the fresher these things are, obviously the healthier they're going to be for you. So let's go ahead and we'll jump over to the kitchen, and I'll show you how to put the juicer together first so you can see what actually is in it, because there's different types of juicers, and the one that I use is a twin gear juicer where the gears rotate and actually crush the vegetables as they're going through it, versus like the centrifuge, which just kind of whips things up, and it doesn't work real well with leafy greens or wheatgrass and things of that nature. If you're going to juice wheatgrass, you got to have something that actually crushes the grass, because it's a hard type of pulp to get it out of there. So I'll see you in a sec. Okay, let's go and get started. I'm going to go through, here's the products I was talking about. This is the 4 salts here, and you can get these right off Dr. Young's website. You get, let's see here, it's basically what you'll get is about a month and a half type of supply on these. And here's another thing that I take this is L-arginine, and basically what it is, it's an amino acid that helps alkalize your tissues. I've been taking this for I guess about a year now. And so what I have here, this is a Super Angel juicer. It's all stainless steel, and as I was mentioning a moment ago, these are the gears, and you can see as it pulls things through it, they rotate against each other and pull the plants and things down through the hopper. So they just basically slide onto here this way. And then you take, this is the strainer itself. This actually goes on right on here. Then you lock it into place. And this little thing here keeps the juice from splashing up and going all over the place. Now, something that's important, you'll notice that I have a blue shirt on. So you definitely don't want to juice green vegetables with like a light colored shirt, because if you get the juice splashes and it ends up on your clothes, it's real hard to get out of. It's kind of like if you've ever had grass stains, it's pretty hard to wash out. And so this here is the actual plunger that you use to push the things down into the gears when you're juicing it. And so what I use is just like a simple white cutting board here, and I use I got a Wüsthof knife set. So you want like a little knife, something like this. This is all you really need to cut up apples and things that you're actually going to use into the mix. And so what I have over here is, this is a 1 gallon jug that I use, and you notice it's full of water. It's actually full of acid water. And the acid water, actually in Japan they use acid water to sterilize hospital operating rooms, because acid water actually kills all bacteria. And so what I do is, once I've finished with the juice that's in here, because we're going to make, once it's done, it's going to fill up like 3/4 of the way here with pure juice. And this is like a tumbler that I use and that I used to drink out of. So when I fill it up, I'm going to fill it up about halfway to the middle here with pure vegetable juice, and the rest is going to be filled up with alkaline water, which I'll show you on the Waterize and Ionizer a little later on in the video. But like I said, once I empty this out, you'll scrub the threads here, because the juice will tend to get on the threads with a brush, and clean it out with hot water, and then fill it up with the acid water and just let it sit in there for a while, and that will take care of killing any bacteria. Now I usually keep these for about a month, because what you'll notice is, as you fill them up and use them over time, the calcium and the minerals actually starts to stick to the jug, and it'll actually turn it like a brown color, because it literally coats the inside of the jug with that. So these are about $7-8 a piece at Whole Foods. It's a 1 gallon jug. You just throw them away. It's BPA free, obviously. And so I'm going to get into, next I'm going to show you all the actual vegetables that I use. Okay, one other supplement I wanted to show you. This is the Udo's oil, and this is Arado Uzmas. He actually devised this and he licenses it. It's the Flora, Flora. Pretty much all Whole Foods, they all have these, any healthy store, and the ones I get are the 3, 6, and 9 essential fatty acids. Now all of your red blood cells, just like the quote that I read you earlier, are surrounded by essential fatty acids. That's omega-3, 6, and 9. And using dark field microscopy, you can actually see your red blood cells under a microscope. And if your body's deficient in these, what happens is you'll have free radical damage, where your cells will have these little pointy things. It'll kind of look like almost like the sun, like when you used to draw, like when you're in elementary school with the little spikes around it. Your cells actually look like that. That's obviously not good. Plus, if you're deficient in essential fatty acids, your red blood cells will stick together in clumps. So you can imagine, if all your red blood cells are clumping together, they can't really fit into the little capillaries and the small blood vessels of your body. And so this prohibits oxygen and nutrients from getting through all areas of your body. So let's go through the vegetables here. This is basically everything I use. What you see here will actually almost, like I said, it'll fill up to like right here in the bottle as far as juice. And so what I use, I use 3 apples. These are like small hand-sized apples. These are Fiji apples. Again, I get these at Whole Foods. And this is the wheatgrass that I get. I get in a bag. Obviously, if you can get in the flat, where it's actually still attached to the roots, it's going to be even better. Because obviously, once these things are cut out of the ground, or they're cut from their roots, they're going to start to break down. So the closer you can get your vegetables from where they're picked on the farm to where you're actually juicing it, the more enzymes and the healthier it's going to be. So this bag here is actually an 8-ounce bag, and at Whole Foods it's like $9, I think, for a bag like this. So this here is the Lacinato kale. That's Lacinato. It's also known as dinosaur kale. Now these here is a bundle of collard greens. This obviously is curly parsley, which I use a whole bundle of that. And here's the celery I use. It's just organic celery. And I usually end up using, because sometimes the celery is a little bit bigger than this, and so you'll end up using 2 of these, but these are kind of small, so I'll probably end up using all 3 of these to make a full amount here. And so what you're going to see in a second when I start juicing this up, the first thing I'm going to cut up is going to be the apples, and I'm going to cut these into 8 little pieces so I can obviously fit them down into the hopper and the juicer. And so what's going to happen is this is the cup that actually comes along with the Super Angel juicer, and you'll notice you can see some of the brown stuff in here. This was actually clear at one time, but it's like this calcium just builds up in here. There's really nothing you can do about it. And so to fill this up, it'll take 2 of these, 2.5 of these. And so what I'm gonna do is right now I'm gonna clean all these vegetables, and then I'm gonna cut. What I usually do is I cut the celery off right here and then pull the band off, and then I wash each stalk of celery individually under the faucet. Same thing, because there'll be dirt, and sometimes some little, because it's organic, there'll be little critters on there as well that you want to wash off. So I'll show you in a second here everything once it's cleaned off and what it looks like. Okay, so I've got everything all washed up. I got the bundle of parsley all clean. I got the bundle of lacinato kale. Here's all the 8 ounces of wheatgrass, and this is the 3 bundles of celery with the end cut off and all washed. And these are collard greens. And I've got all my apples over here. So the first thing that I'm going to juice first is going to be the apples. Now this thing's going to be a little bit noisy once I turn it on, but it's got a little fan that exhausts the motor. And obviously if you can't afford the $1,200 one, because I know this is on the expensive side, they have another one that I used to use called Green Power. So if you go to, I think it's greenpower.com, they have juicers, twin gear juicers that are about $500 or $600, and that one will still get the job done. But what I like about this one is this has the biggest gears that you have. So like things like this, like the kale, I mean, literally you can you'll see in a second, you can just push it down and it'll actually suck it all the way through. But with the Green Power one, you'll have to be pushing like literally everything down with the plunger. It's just a little bit more work, but you do what you can. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to turn this on. There's a little push button inside here. Now normally what I let this thing do is dump the pulp into the sink, but obviously since I'm doing this so I can film it, I've got a little bowl here to catch the pulp as it comes out. So first thing that I start with is I'm going to do the apples first. Now there's a reason that I do things in this order. It's just because I want to make sure, like I'm going to go through, I'm going to juice all the apples first, then I'm going to fill this tub up the rest of the way with celery, and then the second tub is going to just basically be all of these greens here. Now what's going to happen is sometimes you're going to go to the store and you're going to get like the bundle of collard greens will be twice the size of what this is, and sometimes it'll be smaller than what this is. And same thing with the kale. Sometimes you'll get kale that'll be 2-3 times the size of this, and sometimes the parsley will be bigger. So sometimes the amount of juice that you're going to get out of these 4 items right here is going to vary a little bit, and I use the celery to make up the difference. And so the last cup, because sometimes you'll be able to fill this tub up completely full of greens before you even get to the wheatgrass. And what happens, you might fill the wheatgrass up like a quarter of the way, and then the rest you just fill it in with celery. I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of the apples here. Okay, so I finished all the apples. Now I'm going to start juicing the celery. And I'm not going to show you obviously every single piece that I'm going to juice here, but I wanted to give you an idea of what it looks like and how quickly this stuff goes. So it's just, you push it down through the top, you get to here, then you push the celery, the rest of it down through with the plunger. Now sometimes what will happen with the celery is after you stick maybe 8 or 9 through here, this hopper is going to fill up to the top with juice, and then you'll just have to kind of wait for a second, wait for it to settle, and go back down before you can put more celery in there. Okay, so I finished the first tub, which is just all of the 3 apples and maybe about half of the celery. Now what you're going to want to do is you're going to take a fork each time you finish a tub, and you're going to move it back and forth and swirl it around, because especially like when you do some of these greens here, the greens will tend to, like in the screen as it comes out, you'll see it tends to clump up a little bit. And so before you go ahead and start pouring it into the jug, what you want to do is you want to break up any clumps that have basically come off the screen and fallen into the tub of juice. The other thing that I like about the Super Angel is, like, if you notice, you look at the pulp here, I mean, it's just totally dry. There's like no juice left in it. Now if you use like one of those centrifuge juicers, those are good for like juicing maybe the apple and the celery, but these leafy greens really need to be crushed with a twin gear type of juicer, because what will end up happening is you'll end up wasting most of the juice will still be in the grass. Okay, what I did off camera was actually pouring the juice into the jug. And what you have to do is you have to kind of tilt it at an angle, and you always end up, some of it runs everywhere, and I didn't want to go all over the place, so that's something you want to do definitely over the sink. So now I'm going to go ahead and start with the greens, and we're going to start with the Nano kale. You see how it just feeds really nicely down in there. Like I said, the juicer that I used to have, which was the green power one, the one was about $600. You really couldn't do this with that. Those you had to use the plunger to push them on down in there, and this makes quick work of that. So obviously I'm not going to show you all of this. Okay, next we're going to do the collard greens. And the way to juice these is to kind of just roll them up like this. And just feed them down with the thin end first, with the stalk at the back. And that way you can use the plunger to push it all the way down the rest of the way. You know, these things tend to be brittle and they'll break apart pretty easily, so you got to be careful so you can make it so it feeds in there really easily. Like sometimes, like I said, the leaves that you get on these will be even 2-3 times the size of what's in here, so it'll be pretty big. But this thing does a really good job of juicing it. You know, it's pretty easy to feed them through here like this. And the reason I'm showing you all these little things is it took me a while to figure this stuff out, because I've been juicing this recipe for about 10 years at this point in my juicing regimen. And that way you don't have to go through the learning curve to figure out how to use this thing. So I'm going to go ahead and skip to the next diet. Okay, we finished with the collard greens, and you can see this thing's, you know, fairly full. Like these type of vegetables tend to produce a lot of foam. So the next thing we're going to send through here is going to be the parsley. And the parsley will just, it's small enough to where the machine will actually pull it down inside. That makes it really nice. Same thing with the wheatgrass. Makes it really quick and easy to juice this stuff. You can see how quickly it goes through the parsley. It's like nothing. And the next thing we'll do is the wheatgrass. Now sometimes if you stick a bunch through here, you may get stuck, and you just use the plunger to push it down the rest of the way. But the key with the wheatgrass is that you want to pull it, because this stuff tends to stick to your hands and it just kind of falls everywhere. Sometimes it'll fall in the juice cup. You just want to make sure you catch any grass that falls in there, because otherwise you'll get a surprise when you start to drink the juice and you get a piece of wheatgrass in your mouth that wasn't juiced properly. So it just feeds it through there really nicely. If you put it in there too thickly, then it'll pull it down and it actually can jam the gears. And what's nice is this actually has a reverse. Same thing with the green power. The green power has a switch that if it jams, you can just reverse it back and forth a couple of times until it pulls the stuff down there the rest of the way, which makes it pretty nice. You know, sometimes, you know, the key is you obviously don't want to stick your fingers all the way down there, because this thing's definitely strong enough to chew your fingers off at the tips. That's what they provide the plunger for. You see, it does a nice job. And you can see I'm almost finished with the wheatgrass, and the cup's almost ready to be emptied now. So that's the wheatgrass, and then I'm going to go on to the final thing, which is obviously going to be juicing about a half. Once these are finished, I'm going to fill this up about halfway with celery juice, and then whatever's left over I'm going to put back in the refrigerator and just use it to juice for the next batch. Okay, you can see here with just 2 full tubs of juice, this thing is about this full. So another half a tub of this and we're going to be up to here, and we're going to be done. So let's start the last bit of juicing, and then I'm going to show you my water ionizer and how that thing works and explain what the costs and things are to you. So it's like the celery, with each one of these celery stalks, they're about $2.50 a piece for the organic ones. The collard greens are $3 to $4 a bundle. Parsley is $3 to $4 a bundle. Same thing with the kale, $3 to $4 a bundle. So you're gonna probably, each one of these is probably gonna be 20, 25 bucks, and this will last me about 2.5 days. It'll last 2 people like a day, day and a half. But I usually have 3 or 4 cups of juice per day, just because the stuff is so healthy, makes you feel good, improves the eyesight, and like when I don't drink juice, I definitely notice a difference in my overall sense of well-being. Ideally, the best way to do it is to juice it and then to drink it, but I'm kind of lazy, so because it's just kind of, it takes like about a half hour, 35 minutes from start to finish to go through this whole process to make like 3/4 of a gallon or a gallon of juice anyways. So that's just the way I do it, but ideally the real way you're supposed to do it is to juice it and drink it right away within like 15-20 minutes. But that's just I did that for the first year or so I was doing it. It just gets me such a pain in the ass that you just won't stick with it. So I like to make large portions, so if you're making it for yourself and someone else, then both of you should be able to drink a gallon of that within a day if you're each drinking 3 to 4 glasses of it per day. Okay, so I'm all finished juicing. I'm over here where my water ionizer is. Here's the juice. Now what you want to do is you want to run the tip of this under the faucet, because some juice will get trapped in there before you shake it, because as this stuff sits, it will tend to separate. All the juice will set at the bottom, and you'll see the water that was actually in the plants in here. And so this is 100% pure juice. So what I do is just shake it from side to side like this, and I'm going to go ahead and pour it in here into my tumbler. I'm going to fill it up about halfway. Now what this is this here is a storage tank, and this is an actual it's called a Nano filtration unit. It's about 800 bucks for this. It has these 2 canisters here that filter out impurities, and basically the filter media is so small that any kind of bacteria, botulism, whatever you want to call it, well, this thing will actually remove salt from salt water. Obviously it'll shorten the life of the filters before you have to replace them, but you can have like the dirtiest, uncleanest water and this thing will filter out all the impurities. Now you can't see it, but on the other side there are 3 large canisters. One of them has like a glass blown filter, another one's like a carbon filter. I forget what the other one is, but it also has a pump on top, because it's like a reverse osmosis type of system here, and it doesn't take out all the minerals, because you need the minerals so the water ionizer itself can put a charge on the water, and that's where you get a lot of the health benefits from the alkaline water, is because it takes care of free radicals in your body. Now this is a storage tank. I think it's, if I remember right, it's like 2 gallons, 3 gallons. So this is like 60 bucks for this, and what this does is it keeps the flow of water constant out of here. Now over here you'll see a couple of drain hoses coming out. One of those comes from the Nano filtration system, it's the wastewater, and another one comes from the ionizer itself. Now this ionizer is about $2,400 if you buy it directly from Chanson. I know it's pretty expensive, but they have a, like if you just can afford the water ionizer, these also have a filter that actually goes in the side of this unit here. This panel slides off, and it's like a little canister filter. And so they have one that's called the Violet ionizer. And that one's about $1,200 just for that. But I got the Mac Daddy with everything. The Violet also makes acid water, so you'll see it's got a display, and it actually talks to you in a sexy woman's voice, which is always a nice bonus. But I use the alkaline, the strong alkaline, and then down here, these are your acid settings. And what's cool about this one, it also has a basket in the top where you can put Himalayan salts and make really high grade acid water to use for cleaning and things of that nature. So all you basically do is once the power's on, you hit the power twice, and this one's going to actually go into a clean cycle first before we actually get the ionized water. So it's like every, I forget how many liters, but every so many, like every 100 liters of water that come through here, it automatically turns the clean cycle on next time. And what this actually does, this has 7 plates in it where, and they're coated with like a ceramic material, and so what actually happens is as the water goes through it and it puts a charge in the water, some of the minerals in the water actually will stick to the plates. And so what this does, like I said, every 100 liters or so, or 50 liters, I can't remember how much, it will actually go through and clean the plates and reverse the charge to release the minerals that are sticking to the plates. Because what happens if the plates get coated with too many minerals, it loses its ability to put a charge in the water. And so what I'm going to do is then turn it back on and wait a second or so, and then we'll get highly alkaline water coming out, and that's what I will use to fill a cup. Because again, this is 50% pure juice, and the rest I put the ionized water in here, and you're good to go. So I hope this video encourages you to make the right healthy choice and start taking those supplements that I mentioned, as well as including juicing green vegetables, Corey's green juice, as part of something that you do on a daily basis. I promise you, juicing vegetables is something that will totally change your paradigm and completely change and enhance the way you look and the way you feel. So if you'd like to get my help personally, the quickest way is to book a paid phone coaching session. You can do that by going to my website, clicking the products tab at the top of your screen, and follow the instructions for booking a paid phone session with yours truly. And I will talk to you soon.